looks like a slightly squirrely exit as Forrest cuts in behind Binding, trying to find his way through. Looks like Forrest is going to try and go for the outside line as they go into Firestone. And lights are up, engines are revving. And away we go. Quite a long set of lights there as Matz gets off to a pretty good start, but looks like Forrest and Andrew are cutting in behind. Andrew getting actually alongside Forrest McCormack, with Forrest going for the left-hand side as they almost go what looks to be potentially 3 wide into T1. But a big mistake from Paul Maguire there. I don't know if he got taken out or that was just contact of another shape or form, but he's spun out and got right in the mix of every other car there. So it looks like he's taken out a few drivers, including Adrian and Nasuru. But Matt's currently getting away cleanly here with Forrest McCormack very close behind. Andrew leading a group here with David Nascardi and Binding as they come round to turn 6. Matt's going a little bit squirrely there, allowing Forrest to probably get a little bit closer behind. Binding overtaking Andrew Shaw, who seems to have spun out. Andrew Shaw dropping down to 6th place now. Neat also losing position, so yeah, Andrew's definitely had a bit of an incident there. Forrest McCormack getting very close behind Matz right now as he looks to follow as closely as possible as he can into the last couple of corners here. In the background, Binding is currently in 3rd place. Looks like Kaiser's had a bit of an issue. And David Nascardi is currently running in 4th place. Matt's getting a slightly poorly exit from the final hairpin there as Binding also rounds the final corner. But Forrest McCormack on the run down the start-finish line here is going to look to slingshot now. Will Matz go defensive? Forrest thinks once, thinks twice, decides to park it on the inside here as he tries to find a way through T1. Matz having to relinquish the pole position there for Forrest McCormack as he battles his way through and manages to take advantage of the braking zone into T1, having managed to get his car alongside. Matz seemingly deciding not to go as defensive as he could otherwise have done. At the moment, Kaiser Greeny and Nasuru are running side by side as they come through turn 6. Both drivers managing to leave each other enough room, so no incidents there, but Nasuru is now on the inside line here and Kaiser's got to find a way through side by side as they continue onto the Seaside Way straight, with Nasuru having to drop in behind Kaiser. Thierry Red and Paul Maguire in 6th and 7th place in the background, so not too far behind. But Andrew Shaw seems to have dropped down to 10th place now after his early race incident. Kaiser getting a little bit onto the curbs there, allowing Nasuru to get a little bit closer behind. But now we've got a group of cars getting much closer together, as Kaiser is going to have to worry about potential overtakes from Nasuru in the laps to come. And seeing if he can make Kaiser Greeny force a mistake. Looks like they're side by side as they come down Pine Avenue into turn 8. That's going to leave Nasuru in a bit of a precarious position as he has to leave room. But Nasuru is now through and Kaiser Greeny is going to have to try and fight back. But Thierry Red is now closing in quickly on the rear end of Kaiser Greeny as these two in front have been battling. As we come down the start-finish line here through Bridgestone, and Greeny is now going to have to worry about Red being on the inside as they go into turn 1. Forces Red to back out as forces Greeny to back out as Red makes it through. Paul Maguire now very close behind Kaiser Greeny, and I think what we're going to see here is potentially Kaiser Greeny losing out another position here as Paul looks to be in a prime position here to make a pretty good overtake, likely before we get to the next corner. All going side by side here. Takes the inside line through turn 6 onto Pine Avenue. That's going to mean that Greeny's got a potential option here to cut back into turn 8. Decides to do so, and will he close the door on Paul? Yes, he does, but then Paul cuts back, gummies Greeny and takes the right hand side line as he comes down Seaside Way. That's going to mean that Paul's ready to take the next corner on the inside. And Greeny goes for the cutback. Manages to get through. This is absolutely excellent racing for these two. And that puts Greeny into the final hairpin just ahead of Paul, but Paul almost spinning there, manages to recover. Andrew getting through turn 4 now. A pretty good order. Paul Maguire having spun out just after turn 4, it's going to mean that he's now dropping down quite considerably down to 9th place, which is bad news for Paul. Maybe seeing Paul on the front row of the second race grid. If David can just sort out his final sector, he might be in with a shot of the overtakes here. Let's go on board with him. Getting ever closer to Andrew Shaw here. You can see just how slow that slipstream is. But here he is, trying to go for the challenge on the way into Firestone turn. Having to ease off a little bit there to make sure he doesn't make contact with Andrew. But he may yet be in a position here to have another crack at the overtake as they come down East Shoreline Drive. But David is doing a great job of getting up to about here behind Andrew. But there we go, that's a mistake from Andrew Shaw, allows David Nascari to get through. Paul Maguire doing a great job in the background of just avoiding Andrew Shaw. You can see how quickly things can change here at Long Beach as the drivers don't have much time to react to an incident in front of them, but Paul doing a great job there to avoid Andrew before coming round the corner. We'll see if he can hold on to here. Red again making contact with the wall in the background. Binding actually shifting over to the right hand side of the track there to try and deny Nasuru any toe, but oh no, that's a mistake from Binding. And hopefully Red gets past without incident there. But Nasuru is now up onto the podium and Binding is down to 6th place. David Nascari spinning out behind, and Paul Maguire gets through to 7th place. But Binding is down to 6th place now, having lost out there. It's really unfortunate for Binding. But Matz looking to try and catch up with Forrest McCormack here. Let's see what the lap times are. I think this is going to be a good improvement from Matz, as Matz has just put down the best Sector 2 of the race so far with a 27.095, which is 3/10 quicker than Forrest McCormack. The 120.997 for Matz. That is now the quickest lap of the race, and you can see that Forrest has now got a little bit of a challenge from Matz coming his way with 2 minutes left to go. I don't know if Matz has been holding back now to make his last minute challenge. I suspect not, but Matz is definitely finding a second wind here in the closing stages of race number 1, and that's going to mean that Forrest is going to have to try his very best here to hold Matz at bay for another 2 minutes. And that's going to be a very risky game for Forrest McCormack. Just one final hairpin to execute here for Forrest McCormack. And there he goes. He's going to be a P1 finish for Forrest McCormack, P2 for Matz. And Nasuru will take a very well-deserved podium. Go with Nasuru here. Just one final hairpin to do. Looks like Nasuru is through. Thierry Red doing very well here to come out with a P4 finish. Binding will take 5th place, which is a very strong finish for Binding, all things considered. Paul Maguire 6th place, so not the end of the world, considering we saw Paul Maguire have many a spin and also get taken out very early in the race. That might have actually also contributed to damage on Paul's car, which would be very unhelpful for him. Lights are up, engines are revving, and away we go. Adrian getting a very squirrely start there, with Neat also being a little bit aggressive on the turning there. Kaiser potentially going for a outside overtake on the run down to T1. That's not probably the angle I would have gone for. But manages to sneak through and takes the lead early on, with Kaiser Greeny up to 1st place already. Paul Maguire in third place here is going to be well positioned to try and get an early lead here, as Adrian currently runs in P2, but I think Paul will be swift to get through there. Binding looking for positions here, but losing out slightly to Red, who's up to 4th place. Everyone seemingly through clean so far. Here we go, here's Paul Maguire looking for an opportunity to overtake Adrian. So Forrest, McCormack and Nasuru both overtaking Matz early on. Paul Maguire is going to see if he can put it down one side, but Adrian going very defensive. And that means that Paul is forced to take some evasive action there. It's going to cost him a little bit of time there, as Red looks now to close in on Paul Maguire. And Adrian manages to hold on to P2 for the opening lap. Currently everyone just a few tenths apart, and I think Paul Maguire's just got turned around in the final hairpin there. Managed to do a very good switcheroo there, but it's down to P10. That's not great news for him. Forrest very close behind Binding now. Binding's going to have to work pretty hard to try and hold on to this position. I wonder if he's going to get overtaken now. Looks like a slightly squirrely exit as Forrest cuts in behind Binding, trying to find his way through. Looks like Forrest is going to try and go for the outside line as they go into Firestone. And Forrest does get through. That's going to then close the door, with Binding blocking Matz from following behind Forrest. Might better get through. Adrian getting a little bit squirrely through T1. That's going to have allowed Red to get that a little bit closer, but then equally having to slow down there. David Scarley's caught up with Red a little bit more. And these guys getting very close together now as you come through turn 5. Adrian spinning, makes contact with David Ascardi, but doesn't put him off the track entirely, but does slow him down as Matz manages to get through. Potentially now going to be able to catch up with Forrest McCormack enough on the straight here. He's got a good exit and he's got a good toe now. You can see it actually coming together now to allow him to challenge. Is he going to go left or right? He goes to the inside line on the run down to T1. That's going to be bad news for Forrest McCormack as he makes contact with David Ascardi. And there it is. There's a little bit of an accident between those two. That's slowed them right down, and Matz is able to catch up now. That's good from Red's point of view, because it allows Red to have a bit of breathing space, but Forrest is going to have to work a little bit harder there to keep David Ascardi at bay. And those two need to be a little bit more careful in T1. It's a very difficult corner to overtake like that. Slipstream from David behind Forrest here is going to mean that he's going to get closer. We're going to see a potential repeat of what we saw in the last lap. This time David's going to go to the right hand side and Forrest is going to take the inside line. Will that allow him to cut back? Again, you really want to be on the inside line to overtake there. You can see Matt's doing a great job there of almost, or just slowing down in time to avoid hitting David Ascardi, who was bunching up with Forrest McCormack there in the roundabout. And there might be a 5-way fight here for the win, which is absolutely insane. We've got David Ascardi and Matz side by side. I think Matt's finally getting through there, but David Ascardi managing to get back just in time. Let's go back to these guys, because that was a bit of a switcheroo we saw there. And Matz making a little bit of contact with David Ascardi, both slowing down. Let's go on board with Forrest McCormack though and just see from his point of view just how things are looking up front. You can see here Red going for the overtake now on Greenie as they come up to turn 8, I believe it is. Forrest here in the mix. There's a big potential here for a 3-way battle as these guys go side by side on the run down to Firestone. Greenie's going to be on the inside, but he's going to back out potentially. Yes, he is, and that's going to allow Red to get through. And that's the mistake from both Greenie and Matz as these guys try and stay out of the way. But this is what do you do in this situation? That is very unfortunate for Greenie as he goes from 1st to 6th in one corner. Interestingly, David Ascardi going almost 2 tenths quicker than his friend Forrest McCormack there. And David looking to try and take an aggressive entry into T1 as he tries to find a way to catch up with Forrest McCormack here. 3 minutes left on the race. That's going to be about 2 laps or so. Now, I don't think Greeni's going to be able to catch up with Matz in that time, but we will see. There might be a little bit of a change between these three, but I would be surprised if we see Nasuru, subject to an accident happening, catching up. But there we go. That's a slight bump from the rear end of Dave Nascardi onto Forrest McCormack. Allows these guys to get side by side. And David's now got a chance here of being on the left-hand side to take control of T1, but actually losing out to Forrest McCormack there. He might have slowed down a little bit just to give Forrest the position back. Is going to be a bit frustrated with that. Again, Kaiser Greeny making contact with the wall. Matz gets the position back and Kaiser's back down to 7th place, so definitely not a place where you want to make contact with any walls whatsoever. As we see again, another driver getting caught out by that in the closing stages of the race. That would have been a good P5 finish for Kaiser if he'd managed to bring that across the line, but not much he can do now. No spin from the leader or P2, so that means that 1, 2, 3 is now set in stone. Nasuru just appearing on your monitors there as he goes for a P4 finish. Just going to stay with Matz here as he tries to hunt down Andrew, but without a mistake from Andrew, which there is none provided. That's going to be a P6 finish for Matz. Kaiser Greeny finishing in 7th place. And Adrian taking up 8th place. So actually, because we've had people dropping out of the race, everyone here is scoring points, which is good news for them. That's Adrian's probably best points for the league so far, so good news for Adrian. But Red coming out there with a P1 finish is great news for him.